Are you seriously going to eat, you fat blibbity blabbity blob? I mean, some of you might be like,
continual.
why would I want to start this?
Sensitive. She's sensitive.
You are listening to the Tami Talks Unscripted Healing Podcast, where we share stories that are, you guessed it, unscripted.
That's the thing, this journey doesn't stop.
It doesn't really
right?
end. We have a general sense of the topic each episode, but really the whole point is just to show up and be authentic and let our inner child speak its truth. And I have continued to work through that story of constantly hearing, well, we got a hot dog on our hands. Yeah, guess what, Mr. Sabatsky, you do. So I'm so excited that you are here, and it is my hope that you hear yourself somewhere in the story so that way you can feel seen and heard as well. So let's start talking. Welcome to the Tami Talks Unscripted Healing Podcast. I am coming to you today with an episode unlike any other I have produced. And a little backstory on how this episode even came about was that I was talking with my coach, Jamie White from the Believe Crew, and we were talking about the podcast and the vibe that we want, and that we wanted the conversations, even with guests, to be very real and very raw and in the moment and having those aha moments and connecting the dots within the episode. Well, I thought that I would be helping the guest in those moments and doing those things. And that is not what happened. It was actually the other way around, is that my guest, Andy Weins, completely flipped the script on me today in this episode. And you are going to full on witness me being called out in the best ways possible to be more aware of my words, limiting beliefs and thoughts that come through the simplicity of our words. But oh man, he even got me so much that I was full on freeze mode. And if you're watching, you will see it all over my face. And even if you're listening, you will certainly hear it because I'm like fumbling over my words and probably starting to sweat. But again, in the best way. And so if you can witness me in that, one, to even allow you to witness me in that and not cut those parts out feels vulnerable. But again, I know that if I can help in any way through my own experiences, even seeing me fumble and be like, wow, Tami, I was absolutely not the expert on this episode. And I'm totally okay with that because I want to be in rooms with people that know more than me, that are thinking differently than me, that challenge me. And so it was so cool that that person just happened to be in my podcast studio, AKA my living room, my dining room. And so it was such an honor to have Andy Weins as my guest. And what's even funnier about this is that Jamie was the one who referred him to me because she's like, yeah, he would be great because he is very raw. He is very real. No doubt he was. But that was literally all I knew about him. And of course, I did some homework beforehand, which is more than I normally do. No joke. But I'm like, I should probably find out a little bit about what this guy does. And it far exceeded my expectations of what I thought this episode would be. I highly encourage you to get out a pen and piece of paper because you are going to want to take notes on this episode. He dropped so many nuggets of wisdom, so many useful tools that made so many things in our life seem simple. And you're going to hear that word over and over again throughout this episode, is there are ways that we can make things simple in our lives. So I am super excited to get you over to this episode, even though I look like a complete fool in half of it. But again, I'm just totally owning it because I left feeling really empowered and so much more aware moving forward. So I don't hope. I know that you will feel the same way after this episode, and you'll see why I corrected myself because words are powerful. But first, I have to announce, if you haven't heard already, that this podcast, the Tami Talks Unscripted Healing Podcast, was put on the ballot for Best of Madison Local Podcast. So whoop, whoop, which is so crazy because, again, some of you know the story that my third grade self wrote on the back of her school picture, make sure you let everyone see me. So doing this podcast in many ways is my gift to her, to show up for her and to let people hear our story, to let people learn through our experiences like you will today, but also to be able to help more people connect with their inner child and hear themselves within these stories. So that way you can elevate and get the most out of your life. And today's episode is absolutely going to help you do that. So if you have not voted already, you get one vote, multiple emails. before June 30th. So please hop on to Madison Magazine, or you can just type in Best of Madison into Google search. And under arts and entertainment, you'll scroll down and you'll find local podcasts. And there you can vote for Tami Talks Unscripted Healing Podcast. And to me, it is not about the title. It is about giving this podcast more of a voice, more of a platform to reach more people and to show Madison and others that healing can happen out loud and that there is no shame in our stories and that we can all heal by supporting one another and by being open and being vulnerable. And so your vote means so much to me and little Tam Tam and to everyone's inner child out there who is waiting to be seen and heard in their story. So thank you so much in advance for voting. Okay, now to do the intro for this guy. Hold on here a sec. Andy Weins is a no BS entrepreneur, Army veteran, speaker, and author of Words Fucking Matter. Yes, I said that. Known for his raw, direct, and unapologetic approach to life and leadership, Andy blends military discipline with real-world grit to inspire radical ownership. Ooh, yes, he does. Personal responsibility and authentic communication. Through his book, his podcast appearances, this guy is no joke. He has way more experience in podcasting than I do, and you will notice that. He could have run the show easily. And his speaking engagements, Andy challenges people to cut through the noise, to stop playing small, and to use their words and actions to create real impact. Whether he's talking business, service, or self-development, Andy does not sugarcoat the truth. He does not, because he believes in growth from getting uncomfortable and getting honest, which he absolutely made me do in this episode. He is also the founder of Green Up Solutions and Camo Crew Junk Removal, where he employs fellow veterans and models servant leadership in action. When he's not working, speaking, writing, you will likely find him mentoring others, talking trash, literally and figuratively, and reminding you that your excuses don't matter, but your words do. So I will hop on over to that episode. Again, grab your pen and paper. You are going to want to take notes. All right. Welcome. I am here with my guest, Andy Weins. And this is going to be an interesting episode because I literally just met this man down in the lobby. You were introduced to me by Jamie White, who's been my coach, and her and Kevin were on an episode previously. And her and I were talking about where I wanted this podcast to go and just having really real, authentic conversations with people and being able to connect the dots in real time. And so she's like, hey, I got someone for you. And here you are.
Here I am. Here we are.
Here we are, which is great because you have a background in podcasting. It feels like legendary with how many episodes you put out. I was like, wow, he's over here adjusting his mic already. And I'm like, dang, he knows what he's doing. This is awesome.
Yeah, I got into podcasting about 3 years ago. So I'm in the junk removal space. That's what I do. I clean houses out. I have a military background. I've been in the Army now 21 years. I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur. So that's the very surfacey guy, right? Family man, father, fiance, all those things. And then I got into podcasting because I have a background in radio. And I'm like, okay, how do I share my secrets with the world, how to run a successful business? And then eventually I also started writing a book. And I started writing a book called Hustle, Struggle, Grind, The 13 Lessons of Life. So that's what we started it as, and it transitioned to a different book. And so when that book came out about 2 years ago, I added another podcast. And so I started pulling back deeper the secrets of my success. And I'm still shaping the message. Essentially what it comes down to is the specifics are much more important than details.
Yeah.
And so how do we specifically dial into the things in the world that matter the most? And so that's what I stressed on in my life. And now I'm writing my second book. So my first book is about words and neurolinguistics programming at a 5th grade reading level. And my second book is a book about numbers and teaching business owners how to use data to empower themselves and their lives, even when they're not math people.
Ooh,
especially for non-math people.
That would be me.
Yes.
Awesome. Let's talk about your book because I feel like that can lead us into so much of this because I'm a words person. Obviously, I love to speak. I love to write. And I mean, you could have titled this book "Words Matter."
They do,
but you didn't. You elaborated on that, and so you want to share the title of that book with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not ashamed of anything I've done in this world. So the book is called "Words Fucking Matter." Yes. Okay, and this is how we got to it. I said, before, I started writing this book called Hustle, Struggle, Grind,
Yeah.
the 13 Lessons of Life. And it was 13 lessons, 13 bits that I do on stage as a keynote speaker. That's where I make my money. That's where I shine. And what it turned into, it was like a comedian writing a book of their best bits.
Yeah.
Nothing brought it all together. We're not telling a story. It's not empowering. It was somewhat entertaining, not as educational as it is on the stage. So after 6 months of working with my ghostwriter, we're sitting there with an outline. And she goes, we got nothing here.
Cool.
She goes, we have a bunch of things that you're passionate about and they make sense. And yet it's not a book, it's bits. And she goes, one thing about you that's particular, because she's written almost 100 books now. She goes, one thing about you that's particular is you're very specific on the language you use, the words. I go, well, yeah, because words fucking matter. She goes, there it is. There's our thought leadership. That's the book we're writing. So again, I talk to people all the time. I love making decisions. The sooner I make the decision, the sooner I fail. The sooner I fail, the sooner I obtain new information. The more information I have, the better decision I make next time. And so I failed miserably at writing this book, Hustle, Struggle, Grind. And I succeeded miraculously in writing a book about neurolinguistics programming, which I didn't know what NLP was before I started writing the book. The trajectory on any journey starts with a step. And so I'm like, I'm going there, like in that general direction. And along the way, sticks and stones and a couple bumps and bruises, you're like, oh, okay, I'm closer to the thing and I'm not where I thought I would be. And what a beautiful place to be.
Yes. Oh, I love that. So dive into a little bit of that book, the NLP, for people that aren't familiar with what that means.
The simplest thing is, how do we trick ourselves into believing in ourselves? That's as simple as it is. When I talk to business owners and I do keynote speaking and workshops, I tell people I can increase your retention with your employees. I can increase the amount that your employees are engaged, right? The true engagement, right? And there's certain ways to measure that, and it costs you nothing. It's as simple as changing one word from another. So as simple as saying, hey, I'm excited versus anxious, opportunities versus challenges. And we hear all that stuff. Well, how do we actually do it in practical real time? And what I wrote about in my book, and I talk about this all the time, there's start, stop, continue methodology of change. The challenge with most people is they go in one or two mindsets. Either I need to start doing this thing I've never done before because that's going to change my life, or I'm just going to continue doing the things I've always done and maybe it'll turn out better. In reality, what people need to do is stop doing things that hurt them. So let's take weight loss, right? We all have a physical body and avatar, right? Let's say, weight loss. Let's talk about being healthy. Okay. So what are the biggest things you can do to be healthy? You can quit smoking. You can quit drinking. You can quit scrolling late at night to increase your sleep. You can quit going to eating fast food. You can quit eating shitty food, right? At no point did we do anything new. We didn't go to the gym. We didn't start eating healthy food. We didn't do shit. All we've done is stop doing behaviors that no longer serve us. And when you stop doing something that no longer serves you, all of a sudden you create space for a new habit to be formed. And so when it comes to words, when we stop using self-limiting language, like I can't, I won't, I don't. As soon as you shift that, ooh, there's something there. As I'm writing my second book, we're working with a ghostwriter again. And the way it works is we sit down, we chat, we have the outline, we're going off the outline, and we talk for like an hour. Myself, the other gentleman I'm writing the book with, plus two ghostwriters. They take what we said, they write a chapter. The chapter goes to Lynn, my co-author, then it comes to me for final edit. First thing I did is I do every chapter is I go to Control F, Control Find, and then replace. I replace the word but with and. I replace the word if with when. And when I change those simple things, all of a sudden, the entire script changes.
Completely changes.
Because if, for example, right, if is ambiguous, if has no control. When is a time and place. Also, but. I had this argument with my ghostwriter the first time when we wrote, because if and but are both shit words that do not serve. And she's like, you can't eliminate the word. Again, can't. Right? You projecting her insecurities onto me, can't eliminate the word but. And I go, hold on. I can do what the fuck I want, first of all. Second of all, watch me. But is a great transitional word. This is what happens with the word but. It can either be eliminated, replaced with and, or omitted entirely. And by omitted, I mean the entire sentence go away. Okay, so let's look at when you have a sentence. Okay, for example, today I showed up at 13:25, 1:25 p.m. for you civilian types, right? So we had a prearranged time for me to be here at 1 p.m., right? So I can say something in fact like, I wanted to be on time, but so now it doesn't matter what I wanted. It's so insignificant because I chose to make sure my laundry got put in, to finish writing the chapter I was writing, to stop at the Quick Trip that has a Tesla charger and get me a cup of coffee, right? That is true. So it's so insignificant what I wanted, right? And also this is where you get the word sorry, right? People will say sorry, but this is what I'm sorry you're offended, but this is what I meant. Well, fuck all. What does it matter?
Sorry,
right? You're not that. Okay. So in some cases, you have two competing thoughts and you put a but in between, and now you have the listener guessing what actually matters.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay, we can also put the word and. Now we acknowledge conflict. So let's look at the same sentence that I had. Hey, I wanted to be on time today, and here are the reasons I wasn't. Now I'm taking ownership.
Yeah.
Okay, and, right? So I can have a truthful adjustment. I wanted to deliver, right? I wanted whatever, and I am human, I failed. And now I'm acknowledging it versus the but. Because when I give you the but, you have no power, you have no control, and I have no responsibility. Well, I wanted to be at time, but you know how it is. Right?
Yes.
And then here's your third option. Again, same sentence. You eliminate the but and have two sentences, right? I wanted to be on time. That's it. Okay, yeah. I declared I wanted to be on time. Here are the reasons I'm not on time.
Yeah.
The problem with the but is, what does the listener hear? The intention or the execution?
Yeah.
What is believable?
Yeah.
Right? I talk to my daughter all the time, and I'll say, hey, why she's Pokey McPokester, right? Pokey Penny. Dad, 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, it's Dad, 5 minutes. Dad, why are you rushing me? All these things, right?
Yeah.
And so I always tell her, okay, Penny, what can we do right? I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear blame, right? Blame, excuse, denial. So let's have a truthful readjustment. Forget all this. That first half sentence is always buying you time to get to the heart of the, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of limiting self-beliefs and limiting self-language that come out. And so instead of me saying, okay, let me read your entire website, let me read every one of your posts, and let me dissect every little, nope, I find one word that's limiting. It's only one word it only takes. And so words like if, but, just, they're all limiting. And when we change that one word, people start thinking. And that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. Ooh. Would you like to drop this mic? Because I feel like that was
I'm going to lose my cup of coffee over this.
like drop worthy. I love it. You said a couple of things that I want to come back to. One was ownership.
Yep.
And what did you just say about at the beginning?
Blame, excuse, denial.
No.
Start, stop, continue methodology of change.
No, it was just now with your daughter, like reframing the beginning of that.
Truthful adjustments.
That's what it was.
Truthful adjustments.
Yes.
That's it.
I love that.
It's a truthful adjustment.
Yes.
In your language. We fail.
Oh.
But we fail as humans.
Yeah. Well, and I just recorded a couple of solo episodes about how my ego swooped in as playing the role of my people pleaser, not saying things that I actually wanted to say. And so I'm thinking like, ooh, truthful adjustment. Like, hold up, I need to.
I have a savior complex, right?
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing. What a beautiful thing that I like to take care of others and I put others first. What a beautiful thing.
Yep.
Until it's not.
And
right? Right? Because it gets to a line and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Right? You're people pleaser. What great. You're empathetic. You're understanding. You're collaborative. Power to you. Oh wait, you're a hot fucking mess and can't take care of people because you've been taking care of everybody else.
What?
What?
I feel so seen.
Beautiful. Oh my God, I feel seen. And this is scary as shit.
Yeah. It's so true though. You're right. The pendulum can swing too far. And I think that's where people get stuck on, especially when you're the caregiver or you're that savior. Those are amazing qualities that you have. I love that I'm empathetic. I love that I'm thinking of other people. But when it swings so far that we then abandon ourselves.
But see, you also said if. You said if.
I gotta, oh man.
Versus when. If I'm the caregiver. No, when I'm the caregiver. Because
Yes.
if is like, oh, well, versus when is like, oh, I chose to be the caregiver.
100%.
But, right? Okay, this and this.
Yeah.
And now what you're doing is you're letting people know, here's the conflict that I'm facing.
Yes.
When I put a this and then but and then that, now I'm putting the conflict on you. Now you get to decide, is it this or that? Oh, is it this or that? Talk to me here, right? I had this in my fiance. My daughter was off school last week, so she's off school. Her son is off school as of yesterday. So Monday night, we had the kids. And one part, she goes, well, it's a school night. And then she goes, well, it's a summer night. I said, hold on, what is it? Yeah. Because is it a school night or is it a summer night? And she's like, oh, because, okay, yes, it's the last week of school. However, two people, you and him, still have to get up tomorrow morning and get his ass to school. I can sleep in either way, right?
Yeah.
And then she picked up on it. And then last night, we got home from my house to her house late. And the TV in the living room stopped working, and we only have 2 TVs in the house, and the other one's in her room. And it was 9:42, and her son was like, "Hey, can we watch a movie in your room tonight since the TV's not working?" And Jenna goes, "Well, you have to ask Andy." And she just totally, we met playing volleyball. I mean, she set, the ball was perfect, 2 feet off the net, and I swung as hard as I could on this. And I go, "No."
No.
No. I go, "It's 9:42. I said, I'm getting up tomorrow morning and working, and so is your ma. So no." He goes, "Well, it's a school night for us." I go, "I understand. For you, it's a school night. For me, it's Thursday." Or I'm sorry, it's a summer night. It's the first day of summer break, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, to me, it's Thursday. Okay. So what are we not doing? We got a laptop, got a secondary monitor, put in the living room, they had a sleepover. Right. So it's like, okay, you want to watch a movie and we want to go to bed early or on time, right? Versus punting and be like, all right, let the kids watch a movie for a little bit. And now nobody's happy, right? That's what compromise. I also talk about, I talk about this in my work about compromise. Chris Voss with Never Split the Difference always talks about compromise and how compromise does not work. So for today, for example, I'm running behind. Or I always tell people I never show up late. I always show up when I arrive.
Ooh.
Right?
I should want to start using that.
That's a great line.
I'm absolutely using that.
It transitions you from expectations to reality like that because you fill the gap. Also, it's a spoof on Gandalf's opening line in The Lord of the Rings, which is, "A wizard is never early or late. He always arrives precisely on time." So anyway, so there's the gap. That's how we fill the gap as quick as possible. Okay, so let's take for today. I told you, hey, had you know, I'm going to be here at this time. This is our agreed upon time, and now I'm going to explain to you, this is the new time. Right, so I've taken expectation and I've explained reality, so now we acknowledge the gap. And you said, okay, I'd like to keep the episodes under 90 minutes, between 60 and 90 minutes. Okay, I also knew you had a 1 o'clock and a 1:30 available to me today, so I know you have until 3 to shoot this episode. I also know my time. By the time I get back home, I'm taking my daughter to a baseball game. I know my time. So now neither one of us compromised because we both expressed our boundaries, not expectations.
Yeah.
And we gave each other grace to be successful, all rooted in language. Neither one of us apologized. Neither one of us were accusatory, right? It wasn't right fighting. Last week, you canceled on me because kids, right? Today, I'm running behind because laundry. Okay. So now we're not keeping track of score. We are setting boundaries with the grace for other people to meet us at our boundaries.
Ooh, I love that. And the difference between expectations and boundaries. That's huge.
I have a tattoo on my arm.
Yeah.
I got home from Gitmo 10 years ago. I spent a year in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, working in the facilities with the gentlemen that are housed down there. I was going through a divorce. I started a company because that seemed like the right thing to do as I was going through a divorce.
Yeah. You just completely rebranded and
rebranded life.
Down. Yeah. Yep.
Married with children to recently divorced. And here's our podcast. Join Andy and Tami on Recently Divorced. I was dragging my thought. So I got home and I moved into this house that my parents were flipping. I used to flip houses with my parents. And so they bought the house before I deployed because there was a high likelihood that I was going to be going through a divorce post-deployment. I digress. In the house was this very simple piece of wood with an overlay of a saying. And so I looked at it for 10 years. And then about 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I was done playing volleyball for the year. The place I played volleyball year round closed. So now I'm only playing volleyball in spring, summer, fall. And so I was like, all right, since volleyball's not going on, I'm going to finish getting tattoos on my arm and my back and chest. And last 6 months, I just tattooed my whole upper body. Normally for 20 years, I've been playing volleyball. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I've always loved looking at this. I want to live by it. Ooh. So it was interesting though. I looked at it for 10 years. I read it every day. And then I Googled the actual poem and found out there was a line I was missing the entire time, which was interesting. It's the final line of the poem. And so I have it tattooed on me. And then I get back to work the day after I got tattooed. And one of my employees was like, he looked it up. He Googled it for it. He goes, you know, it's a German prayer. I was like, well, it's a really good poem. He goes, no, it's actually a German prayer and blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so to me, it is the serenity prayer for people. That's essentially how I interpret it, right? So the prayer is very simple. I do my thing and you do your thing. I'm not put in this world to live up to your expectations, and you're not put on this world to live up to mine. I am I, and you are you. And if by chance we find each other, it's beautiful. And if not, it can't be helped.
Wow.
And that last line is what I missed all along the way. Because of my savior complex, I had this idea in my head that was, wow, everybody that's put in front of me is put for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is for me to give my time, talents, and abilities to heal them, help them, support them.
Yeah.
When in reality, we may find each other, right? And if not, it can't be helped, because there are people in my path, right?
So many goosebumps
There you
right now.
There are people that I will cross
Yeah.
that were put there for me to better understand who I am, who I
Yes.
was.
Yeah.
And over that exercise, over the last year or so, going through that exercise, I realized once I started to stop letting people in, again, stop, continue methodology change. Once I set boundaries of the people I want in my life,
Yep.
I lost about 75% of the people in my life.
Yep.
And what a beautiful thing that was. 80% of people are fixed-minded. 20% are growth-minded.
So
Growth-minded people are my people. That's why we're here today. I met Jamie years ago, and we met at a conference, and she sought me out, and she asked me a question. And I remember I was very straightforward in my answer, which she was used to being the coach.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, that hurt. Because I said something very real to her.
Yeah.
And to this day, I off the top of my head, it's not coming to me. And because we had that level of vulnerability
Yeah.
and honesty, it showed that we were both growth minded. And now she's 1,000 miles away in Mexico, and we're actually closer now than we ever were, because we continue on that path of growth. She went through a bunch of stuff. She made some major life choices and changes, which brought her closer to becoming the person she was destined to be.
Yeah.
And now when she introduced you to me, I think it was like a month from the introduction to where we actually got connected, here we are.
Yeah.
And at no point was I chasing you.
Right.
Because that's what I would have done in the past.
Yeah.
I would have fought the last line.
Yeah.
Right? It can't be helped. And I thought, oh, I can outwork the problem. I can outwork the process. I can outwork the people. The reality is, no. I can be me.
Mm-hmm.
I can hold my boundaries. I can live for me and mine selfishly.
Yeah.
Right? And then I can selflessly give to those that want to meet me somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Ooh. And that has been a major awareness, and part of my healing journey was recognizing that same thing of there are going to be people that leave your life. Yeah.
We talk about this in our business. For years, I called us a family, because we were a family-owned business. I'm a fourth-generation entrepreneur. I grew up on my grandpa's farm. I worked for my dad's company. Yeah. I started my business with my brother Isaac. My mom worked for us. My brother Tyler was an employee. My dad was always around. So we were a family. And a few months ago, we shifted the language. So we used to have family meal. My mom makes a meal. We sit around, like we talked about in the military, all ranks are off. So it's no longer about your title, your position. We're all sitting at the table together, eating, breaking bread. And we always called it family meal. And then like 2 months ago, we changed it to all team dinner. And the reason is family is thick and thin. Family, you can argue for why, right? People say, well, it's your family, right? Old school mindset. No. Yep. We are a team. We are a team of high-performing individuals. No different than the people in my life are part of my team. Yeah. They're part of my village. The difference between a team and a village versus a family, right? We can elect who is there and who's not. Yep. And so the people that come across in your life, some will be there for a career. Some will be there for a season. Some will be there for a game. You, me, the individual, gets to decide how people fit in. Yeah. And so for us, right, here we are. We have a game. We have one podcast. Yep. Does that mean it will last a season? Does that mean that we'll be in each other's lives for careers? Versus, oh, you did something for me, now I have to do something for you, and now we're obligated, and let's be weird and awkward. And
right, let's not do that.
And yet, how often do we justify that?
Oh my gosh, all the time. And as a people pleaser, I 100% do that.
and I take,
it's like my full-time job.
That's your identity. And I'm like, oh, you're fucked up. Let me see how I can help, right? Because it comes from a lack of confidence. It comes from the wounded inner child that lacks confidence. So I feel like I have to give more than the other person because I'm not as worthy. So that's why that selfish piece that I've only recently learned is so important for me, because I was selfless for my adult life. And when I was in basic training, the Army has 7 values. And one of the values is selfless service. So at the end of basic, there's 200 soldiers. Out of 200, I was selected as the selfless service soldier of the cycle, because I gave, whenever something sucked, I volunteered first, right? And I live by the adage in the military, especially, right? When you volunteer for everything, they can't make you do anything, right? And it worked. So I was always volunteering. I was always like, however bad it is, I'm going to embrace the suck as quick as possible. And being selfless absolutely has served me in a lot of different aspects in life. Yeah. And it has not served me And it comes down to the people I am serving more often than not.
100%.
And as soon as I eliminate the person,
Yeah.
also I've created space for myself, space for somebody that I can serve versus someone I was trying to serve.
Well, there's a phrase that you can never say the right thing to the wrong people or the however that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like when you start to see that shift in who is in your circle, that's hard at first to realize like these people that are close to me we're not resonating anymore. We're not speaking the same language anymore. But when you start to see when they exit, it's bringing in this whole lot of people that are speaking the same language.
So I'll do quick coaching with you, right? Use the word hard.
Yeah.
Easy and hard. Easy and hard are shit words.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift it. Let's take that same sentence. You said it's hard to, what was the second half of that sentence?
See those people go?
Yeah, it's hard to let those people go. We'll use that. Okay. So let's change it to, is it simple or is it complicated? That's a choice. And I'm asking you, is that simple or complicated?
It feels complicated.
Okay. So, okay, good. Feels is a good word. So it feels complicated. Right now we can have a conversation. What would make it less complicated?
This was not, what did I get myself into? Honestly, honoring my own needs.
So in the OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, act. When you observe that person that you would otherwise support or help, orient yourself and say, hold on, who am I?
Yeah.
And then your decision will become clear.
Yeah.
Right? If you say, hey, I'm observing this person that doesn't respect my boundaries. Orientation. I'm a boundaries-driven individual. I have boundaries. I respect other people's boundaries. And I only allow people that respect my boundaries into my life. Now the decision is very clear. This person does not respect my boundaries. That's a basic minimum requirement. So the decision is simple.
It's simple. I
need to break contact. And then the action of how you break contact, right, can be very active. Right? I'm all about active. Right? Even in a confrontation with a significant other, especially, right? You can walk away and leave it ambiguous, or you can say, hey, you know what? Right now, I'm not showing up as my best self.
Yes.
Not, you fucking bitch, you ruined my life. Right. Not, hey, right now, I'm not in a good place to have this conversation. I'll take ownership.
Yep.
So I'm going to call a timeout. Yep. And when I'm ready to re-engage, and when I'm healthy, and when I'm my best self, then we can re-engage this conversation. Yeah. Now, instead of saying, again, you fucking bitch, you ruined my life, people get defensive when you say things like that, turns out.
Interesting.
You project your insecurities onto them. Now what you've done, right, is you've given yourself the time to respond accordingly. So going back to your situation, when you said it's hard to let go of people, or it's hard to not jump in. It's whatever, okay? It's either simple or complicated. When it's simple, execute.
Yeah. When
it's complicated, what can you do to simplify it? It goes back to the old adage, right? How do you eat an elephant?
Yeah, right.
One bite at a time. I do professional consulting as a fractional CFO, and it turns into some personal stuff. This person is purely personal, and she's going through a divorce. And she keeps saying, I used to see him in this light. And it's like, okay, she's now on the right side. And yet occasionally she still sees him in that light that is inconsistent with who he truly is.
Yeah.
So again, a truthful adjustment. That's what we talked about earlier.
Yes. And
so the 3-step methodology for people is reflect, realize, and then regulate.
Okay.
So reflect.
Reflect, realize, regulate.
So in her case, for example, reflect. This person treats me this certain way. He has treated me this certain way. Realize he ain't the person I thought he was. I wanted him to be, the man I married, whatever the realization is. Very concrete.
Yes.
That realization is what you now put into that orientation, so you can regulate in real time. So now when you observe it in real time, regulate. Oh, hold on. He's calling me? Okay. Let me be neutral. Let me talk about only logistics. Taking the dogs? Sounds good. Not, hey, how are you? Not nothing else. Oh, you're calling to yell at me? Okay, this is not part of my boundaries. I'm hanging up now. Click. Not hang up. Tell them they're hanging up.
Yeah.
Set the boundary and then hang up.
Yep. Simple.
Very simple.
Right. Oh.
And then emotions complicate shit.
Well, that's why I've said this a million times in this podcast. Like, this work is simple. It's just not easy because of our old stories and ego. And
so I'll make it even simpler for you.
Yeah.
Get rid of the word easy.
Yeah. Truly.
Because all too often in our lives, there's things that we avoid because they're easy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so easy. It's too easy. It's so easy, we're not even going to do it. And there's things that are hard that we don't do. Easy or hard is insignificant.
Yeah.
What people are doing is they're preloading their brain, and it's a pre-designed excuse. It's a limiting self-belief masked in comfort.
Wow. Dang. Give me lots to think about. I'm going to really start thinking about my words here on this podcast. Check yourself, Tami. So tell me about the savior complex and where do you feel like that originates from? When you talk about this wounded inner child, like that's kind of my jam. So
I was never good enough growing up. So the savior complex for me is a solution to the problem of feeling I'm not good enough, right? So I can do one of things. I can work on myself to be good enough, or I can just go prove to people I'm good enough, right? This is this takes significantly more energy, but it feels easy.
Yeah.
Right? Work on other people? Absolutely. Me?
Right. Yeah.
Right? And so that took me a long time, right? I grew up, actually my very first tattoo is my Nimrod tattoo, which is Green Day's 5th album. A lot of people know it from Good Riddance.
Yep.
And my favorite song is Nice Guys Finish Last. So I had this ideology that I was a nice guy all growing up. And especially in high school, I was the nice guy, right? I'm the friend zone guy or the gay best friend guy, right? I'm the guy that you'll be friends with, but you won't date. And that carried on even in my 20s. And even into my marriage and then even to my 30s. And it wasn't until probably a year ago, I was watching something. Andrew Huberman, almost positive, is the one that talked about this. He said that it's not that the reason why women go for assholes over nice guys, right? If we make, when we make that distinction, right? Is the confidence piece. The difference between a good man and a nice guy is confidence.
Yeah.
Because you can be kind and nice and confident. And so I had those first two, right? So last year, my battle cry and then what happened is over time, I overcompensated for my niceties by being an asshole. Right. And 20 years in the military, working concrete and construction, and then in junk removal in the waste industry, like I'm pretty good at it. I'm 6'4", 220 and full of tattoos. Like I could be an asshole.
You can play the role.
Right? A knife hand right in the military. Like in the civilian world, it's like when you point your finger, 3 point back at you. It's like when you fucking knife hand somebody, it's very clear.
Yeah.
You have the deficiency. Right? And the less you shake it, the more powerful it is. This is like, I'm insecure. This is like, you have an issue. Right? Knife hand people.
Wow.
That's a drill sergeant.
All kinds of things today.
In the military, drill sergeant knife hand. Because a drill sergeant, like you'll start talking to this like this, and then you already know whatever bullshit you're spitting, it doesn't even warrant a response. Going back to it. So I was hard all these years.
Yeah.
And even in my branding, I was known as AFW. Andy, you're right. It's the joke is AFW, and the F ain't for Francis. So I'd come across, I'd get on stage, right? Yeah. I'd be louder than life. I take up as much stage as possible because I'm Andy fucking Weins, right? And if you don't want to hear what I got to say, I'm going to say it louder so you're forced to hear it.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years ago, I realized Andy was good enough.
Ooh.
I didn't need to be Andy fucking Weins. I didn't need to be this avatar of a person I wanted to be. When I was in radio, I was AFW.
Yeah.
When I went out drinking, I was AFW. When I was on the volleyball court, I was AFW because Andy never felt good enough. And so then I started to realize, wow, not only was Andy good enough, he always has been.
Yes. Yes.
And so once I had that realization, I said, okay, I'm going to be Andy. And then I came out and I was letting people take advantage of me.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, like pendulum.
Yep. Poof.
So last year's mantra, and still it's on my whiteboard. I said this to my fiance a while back, and it's something I'm working on when it comes to parenting, especially now. So my mantra last year was strong enough to be soft.
Ooh, I love that.
Because those, again, not but, not or, yes, and I can be strong and I can be soft at the same time. Yeah. Versus being soft and being taken advantage of, being strong and being unrelatable. Yeah. I can be both. And now it's not a question of being the nice guy. It's not a question of being selfless. No. Be strong in my boundaries and soft in my execution. Yeah. And so with that mantra, it's really shifted my life to say, okay, I can be 6'4", full of tattoos, drop the F-bomb as needed. Yeah. And also be this person that's extremely approachable, can meet them in their place. Yeah. And even as we sit here today, right, we're sitting, I'm intentionally leaning low. I want to make sure we're at the same eye level because at 6'4", I can walk into a room and intimidate people unintentionally. Wow. Or intentionally.
Oh, I was going to say, Yeah.
My favorite word in the English language is juxtaposition.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I love it, and the way it comes out in the real world, is I go to networking events quite a bit, and people see me for the first time. And now I'm in a room with a bunch of cheese dick guys with blue blazers. That's the best way to put it, right? Everybody looks the exact fucking same, and it's not interesting. I walk in, right? For 9 years, I've worn the same exact outfit every day. It's a t-shirt, ball cap, tattoos, and camel pants.
Yeah.
And so I come in and I garner attention only by being me. That's it. And we walk in, and then people are like, oh, you got to meet Andy. And also I'm having a conversation with somebody. And so they have this idea of what they think I am or who they think I am.
Right.
And then I say something like, oh, I wrote a book on neurolinguistics reprogramming or psychology, or I talk about wounded inner child. And then people are like, oh, so I let them into my world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And often as they're talking, I'll pick up on something and give them a quick lesson, right? When then language instead of if.
Yep.
It was just ambiguous, whatever. I give them a quick lesson. And then, oh my God, I want to read your book. I want to know more about you. Can I find it on Amazon? I'm like, yeah. The book is called Words Fucking Matter. And almost every time people are like, oh my God, I love that. Right?
Yeah.
Now let's take this another scenario. When I walk in a room as I am and say, hey, everybody, I'm Andy fucking Weins, and you got to buy my book, Words Fucking Matter, because you suck, and let me tell you why.
You mean that's not a great strategy?
Turns out. And that's what
people aren't receptive to that.
And that's what people do, like you, right? When you walk in and say, hi, I'm a people pleaser. I'm going to take care of everybody except for myself. What can I do? Who can I help? Where do I volunteer? And that's what you're telling everybody. That's the billboard you're putting out every time you walk into a room. And then when you're worn out and taken advantage of, you have one person to hold accountable. There you go.
Oh, yeah, I did an episode, and that was literally what it was about, was me calling out my ego. Like, you did this. You didn't speak up. You didn't say what you should have said. This is on you, because I could feel very quickly how my ego wanted to be like, well, they did this. And I'm like, no, Tami. This was all you. This is on you.
So what's interesting there is Action Coach has a model, OAR, ownership, accountability, responsibility, above the line. And then there's a line, and then it's blame, excuse, denial.
Yeah.
Everybody has a predisposition to one of the three. I'm a blamer. You have now announced that you're a blamer, right? You're not an excuse person. You're a blamer. Fine. We all have a predisposition. And my argument there is simple. Excuse of the three is the least bad because excuses can be flushed out with information.
Yeah.
That's an excuse. We can dismiss that.
Yeah.
Blame is a little more difficult because now you're not fabricating. You're merely dismissing and assigning responsibility to somebody other than you.
Right.
So when we blame, now we can at least start asking questions. Okay, well, hold on. How did you show up?
Yeah.
Where's your DNA?
Uh-huh.
Where are your fingerprints in this situation? We can ask some questions to start flushing that out.
Yeah.
Right? A simple exercise there is, next time you're upset about a situation, start the sentence with I instead of you.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. That is what people are like, well, what can I do? Start the sentence with I. What else? That. Again, let's go back to our earlier example. You son of a bitch, you ruined my life versus I'm not in a good place right now to talk.
Yeah.
The worst of the three is denial. When you walk into people with denial, run.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Because when it comes to denial, we're not even operating on the same plane.
Right.
We're
Nothing to do with that.
We're not starting with facts. So when I meet people that are in denial, I break contact from them entirely.
Yeah.
And what happens often is people that really want to be better.
Yeah.
People that don't allow their ego to get in the way, they'll say, okay, hold on, what am I missing?
Yes.
And then you can explain another perspective. And then there's a starting point. The challenge I see with people that have denial, all too often, they have narcissistic tendencies or they're narcissistic. And so their perception of reality is so tainted.
Yeah.
And you're the object of their affection, desire, anger, whatever. There's nothing you can say to get them to see the world the way it is. Right. And I'm not going to get into the reality and all this other stuff, right? Basic acknowledgements. Yeah. The light is green versus red.
Right. Oh yeah, I got some of those in my life. Or it's like you're right. Like, so what do you do with that?
I don't have those people in my life.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's exactly what you do.
I have a sister during the COVID times, right? She couldn't buy ham at Sendix because the person in front of them didn't have a mask on. Okay. They couldn't get chickens a couple weeks ago from this. We get chickens every year on the farm. The store in Merton feed stores where we get chickens every year. And they went there and they were out. And they said, no, we're out. Right. We're out. And it turned into because Trump was elected and the tariffs and then this and then that and egg prices and society is terrible. And the kids are going to have a ruined summer because they don't have chickens. right?
Oh, boy.
Or maybe we got there late in the day and they sold them, and then we went to Fleet Farm and got chickens.
Yeah.
Right? Denial people cannot look. They can't disassociate what
Right.
they think from what is real.
Right.
So with denial, so at that point, you saw I have a lot of people like that in my life. I do not suffer from that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't struggle with it either.
Yeah.
I strive. I love my sister. I accept my sister, and I limit the amount of time and exposure I have with my sister. And when she says stuff that is enjoyable and we can have a conversation, I engage.
Yeah.
And when she says things that are not healthy for me to engage with, I disengage. It is that simple, because at the end of the day, the way that she treats me is a reflection of her.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with me.
Uh-huh.
And as a person that has the savior complex and an ego,
Yep.
I thought that I mattered. Turns out, no.
Oh. Yeah.
The 4 Agreements and the 5th Agreement. Great fucking book.
It is.
Love that book.
That was a book that made me step back, and that was one of them about like it's
the way that people treat you is a projection of them. It has nothing to do with you.
Yep.
It's that again, that is so simple.
It's so simple. And that's what's hard is when they don't see that. Like now I can absolutely see that. So it's much easier for me to not take things personally anymore. Like, oh, that's a you thing. But
Simple.
yeah.
Simple. Pretty easy. It's simple. That's okay. Here's why it's simple. Because you have a pre-programmed, okay, hold on. This guy said this. I believe it to be true. So now this is my new orientation.
Yeah.
Simple. I know.
Yeah.
You'll catch yourself. And the other, here's
man.
The true
I know
master.
people commenting on every podcast like Tami.
And when I make a post, and for a while there, I had a third party company making my posts. We get messages like, "Hey, talk to your marketing company," because they use the word "if."
Oh.
So we had I don't know, a year ago, we had a chat GPT bot. So we loaded my book and every episode of my podcast into a chat GPT
I know it's
GPT bot. And so now the guys on my team will ask it a question. How would Andy resolve this or answer this question?
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, which is very eye-opening, a mirror moment.
Uh-huh.
I was like, this guy's a lot more aggressive than I am.
Wow. Oh my
It was a good reality check a couple months ago. And I was like, I wouldn't have swore that much.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like it's somewhat of an entanglement because now that I've started to set boundaries, I am seeing that this actually is much simpler.
There we go.
Look at that. I did it. I caught myself. Cheers.
Dopamine.
Oh,
Hold on. That's how you have to look at, right? In 30 seconds, you went from eliminating self-belief using a word like easy or hard.
Yeah.
To you stop for a whole ass second. You said simple.
Yeah.
And you got a kick of dopamine.
I did.
Because you're doing different.
Yes. Ooh.
Different leads to better.
It's so simple.
It is simple. It is. And then you're like, and what happened is you started your sentence. You took a second to use the word simple.
Mm-hmm.
And the second half of that sentence is now different than it ever would have been before.
Yeah. Ooh, that's powerful. And I think that being a recovering people pleaser, it is allowing that pause. Because then I can come back with that truthful reframe or however you said that. I'm just, is that my ego or is this my truth?
Mm-hmm. Ooh. My truth is another shit word. And I'll argue this why.
Yeah. Because
people use my truth as a justification for not acknowledging simple facts. The truth can be qualified. Right?
Yes.
Now, my perspective, I like the word perspective, because now you're acknowledging, okay, so from right here, I can say the car driving by right now is red.
Yes.
You don't see a car driving by, right? I can see a car, right? From my perspective, there's a lot of cars on the road. From your perspective, there's a wall, right? And so perspective can be understood, right? That's that old, we hear about it. Walk a mile in my shoes, right? Get in the foxhole with me, right? Perspective can be at least acknowledged, right? You can also say, some people do this. I hear this in language. People say, as a right? Mm-hmm. And then they'll say their perspective. Okay, you're right. If you are a minority woman that's transgendered, your perspective is going to be different than my perspective as a white male that grew up in the suburbs, parents are still married, and went to Catholic school, right? Okay. Now we're not arguing truth. We're arguing perspective. And now we're not arguing. We're acknowledging, okay, I can acknowledge your perspective is different than mine.
Wow.
Now, my sister and I, we grew up in the same house, same pairs, a lot of the same stimulus. And yet our perspective of the world is very different.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And now we can decipher how we got there. Right. I joined the Army. She went to 4 years of indoctrination college. That's what I think college is. And I have a bachelor's degree, and I got close enough to be like, oh, this ain't for me.
Yep.
And I graduated. So it wasn't like I went there and left. And she was born as a different person than I was. Right. So now her perspective, even though we were given 99% the exact same stimulus as in life, our perspective is different. So do we sit here all day and try to argue what the difference is,
Right.
or merely accept people, love them for who they are, and find how they fit in our life?
Yeah. Wow.
And so what you were talking about before is it's a seven word adjustment to build your life, right? It's I used to. So you started that. I really love that. You basically said it. And so I'm gonna give the framework of what you did to the audience, right? I used to, limiting self-belief, insert there, right? I used to be a people pleaser. Beautiful. And now, truthful readjustment, so that mantra.
Yeah.
Right. So let's take you, for example. Let's go through this exercise. I used to, this is like Mad Libs. I used to
be a people pleaser.
And now.
I'm gonna get this wrong. Now I'm
No, anything. No, you
I know.
There's no right or wrong answer.
Right.
And now what's different?
This is funny. Can you see how like it's now triggering me? Do I have to get the answer right or wrong? But you're like, there isn't a right or wrong answer.
Because you're trying to please me. And
100%.
And who the fuck am I?
Exactly. Because I don't want to disappoint you. I don't want to seem stupid.
Sounds like a you problem.
100% is a me problem.
Okay, hold on. When I say sounds like a you problem, people get defensive, right? So I got this one like 6 months ago. It sounds like an issue, not an ish me. I'm saying the same thing, and yet it's funny, and it's truthful, and it slaps. Okay, so let's go back to it. I used to
be a people pleaser.
And now
I am working on.
Let's live in the present. You're doing a participle. I think they use it in language like And I am. What's different?
I'm healing that part of me.
Okay.
Still no.
That's fine. Because you're using healing, right? Like it's an ongoing.
Yeah.
Right now, you are a finished product. The person that's in front of me on June 6th, 2025, this is who you are today. Healing, working, thinking, talking, trying.
Yeah.
There's a spectrum. I want to know where you're at today. Are you aware?
Yes.
Okay, let's go with that. Right? That's a very clear word. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the top. I used to
be a people pleaser.
And now
I am aware.
So that
I don't fall into those habits again.
Let's change it and instead of using I don't, what do you do?
I honor my own needs.
Now let's take it from the top. Say those words all there. Okay. I used to
be a people pleaser.
And now
I am more aware.
So that
I can honor my own needs.
That's the 5-second mantra you say when you're faced with reality, when you are in the hole, when that thing triggers you. You remind yourself who the fuck you are.
Well, it's funny when you said it, I wanted to be like, I'm Tami fucking Schultz. That's who I am right now.
I said this years ago. There's a lawyer. There's a lawyer at my CEO roundtable. Prim and proper and all the things. And she was going into a situation that lacked the confidence. And I said, you're the CEO of a law firm of 300 people. You were elected and selected to be the person. Start showing the fuck up. And she's like, first name, fucking, last name. She goes, that does feel good.
It does. It really does.
She goes, I don't want to admit that feels good. In my head, when I'm starting to have limiting self-beliefs, when I'm walking onto that stage in front of 500 people, when I start having that, the creepers, the I'm not good enough, right? Visualize this. I fantasize about this. I turn to the thing. It's the person. It's the mirror. It's the audience. I turn to the Thanos, right?
Yeah. I actually know who that is.
Right?
Because my son.
Okay, there you go. Right, Thanos, because it's like, right? But you turn to the enemy, whatever that enemy is, right? Internally, externally, whatever, right? And I remind myself, I'm Andy fucking Weins.
Yeah.
And I walk on the stage and I fucking slay.
Yeah.
And there's research behind that. This isn't like, oh, this is Andy's playground. And I say dope shit and people get excited. No, back in 2020, like 4 years ago, 2021, Harvard Business Journal did a study where they had students go out in front of an audience full of other students. and they had to give a convincing 3-minute impromptu speech. 3 minutes, right? And we know public speaking is the number one fear of Americans because you might get made fun of because egos and shit. Okay. They had half the students say to themselves, I am excited. Go out on stage, perform. They had the other half of the students say, I am anxious.
Yeah.
Or try to convince themselves that they were calm. I got this. The students that went out and said, I am excited, performed significantly better and felt more confident than the students that said I was excited or tried to convince themselves that they weren't scared.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing is you're pre-programming your brain.
Yeah.
So when I say I'm Andy fucking Weins, right? Or my daughter, my 11-year-old daughter who will take on the world someday, always says, Dad, I got this. It doesn't matter what this is. She's got it.
She's got it.
50-50, right? Last night, we were at the farm and she's like, oh, we have 12 chickens and there's one chicken that is chill. She can pick it up. She takes it on walks. The chicken's like, wow, we're going somewhere. The other ones are skittish. I'm struggling to remember the name. Anyhow, she's like, all right, I'm gonna take the chicken. And she goes, I'm gonna hang out with the chicken. Then we're gonna take a golf cart ride. And then me being cool dad that I am, I was like, why don't you take the chicken on the golf cart? She's like, oh, I got this. She gets on the golf cart. She's holding the chicken. Hold on, I can't. Her hands are too small to hold a chicken with one hand and a golf cart. And now my fiance's son was sitting next to her. And my fiance's like, you can't let her drive with the chicken in her hand. I go, yeah, I know. She hasn't figured that part out yet.
She's got this though.
So I'm watching. We're like 50 yards away, sitting, relaxing. And I'm watching her do this. Like, I go, how about one person holds the chicken, the other one drives the golf cart? Now her son doesn't want to hold the chicken. Also doesn't want to drive a golf cart.
Here we are.
So here we are, right? Something's got to give. And then my fiance's like, go over there. And I'm like, all right. So I go over there and I go, his name's Jaden, because at this point he's in the driver's seat. He's never driven a golf cart before. And he's 12 and hasn't grown up on a farm. And he's not around other boys and, doesn't do dumb shit like I did at 12, right? And so I go
Farm life is a different kind of life.
100%. And I said, do you know how to drive the golf cart? He goes, probably. I go, well, that's not an answer. I go, the one on the right goes, the one on the left stops. He goes, okay. And then he's doing, oh my God. And we can hear the golf cart like doing this number. Like, thankfully, it wasn't stick shift because they would have just clunked out, right?
Yeah.
They had a time in their lives, right? And again, going back to my daughter, right? I got this. She did, in fact, not have this. And yet she had the confidence, right? It's like, have the confidence of a 4-year-old wearing a Spider-Man shirt.
For real.
Like, because at one point, going back to 4 agreements, our preachers, our teachers, our leaders, our parents beat us down into thinking that we aren't the way we are. And at some point in our lives, we decide that we are amazing the way we are. And we take the time to chip away all the shit that isn't us, that was bestowed upon us by others. And that's why 80-year-old people say what's on their mind and don't give a shit. Because they figured out by then that other people don't think about them nearly as much as they think about themselves. The sooner you can realize it, I figured that out about 35. My mom said, you figured this out at 35. It took me to 65.
Yeah. Yeah. I have those conversations with my daughter and my son actually all the time. Like, I want to have these conversations with you now so you're not a 42-year-old adult working through this stuff.
Right. The goal is to be accepted by society, not become society.
Yes.
And you get to decide who society is. I study psychology and sociology quite a bit. And when I realized when it comes to sociology and sociology and society on the whole, I can fit in by fitting out. Dr. Seuss talks about that, right? Dr. Seuss says, right, in a world of people trying to fit in, I choose to fit out. Yes. There's a great movie, Home, the kids movie. And then the main character's name is O. Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
Okay, so our kids are about the same age. And so he goes, I don't fit in, I fit out. And I'm like, oh, what a great fucking that is. Right? And how does that manifest? As a kid, I went to Catholic grade school. And I showed up and I was the small kid, the short kid, the smelly kid, the poor kid, right? So I fit out, right? And then in high school, I was the smallest kid and then I was tall all at once, right? And I wasn't a jock and I wasn't a prep and I wasn't all these things, so I fit out. Yeah. And then I joined the Army where we're all wearing this uniform thing and doing the thing, and then I got a letter reprimand because I fit out, right? So Andy Weins fits out. So the more I can embrace that, the better. So now when I walk into those rooms of networking individuals, right, wearing camo pants and a t-shirt, everyone else is wearing a blue blazer, I fit out. Yeah. And those people that get it, they want to be part of it.
Yeah.
They take the time to follow me on LinkedIn or follow LinkedIn and they've seen me. those are my people. And the people that are like, who's that asshole? Guess what? To them, I'm an asshole and it ain't worth my fucking time.
Right. Not my people.
There's sometimes, always, never people. At best, 1/3 of people will always be your people. Right? And they'll follow you through thick and thin.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's going to be the 1/3 of never people. No matter what you do.
Yep.
Fine. The goal in life is to understand who are the sometimes people. They'll sometimes buy from you, sometimes listen to you, sometimes follow you. That's the society you want to spend your time with. Because those are the people that will sometimes be really honest with you when the always people please you.
Right. Yeah. Ooh. And to be okay, not just okay. Caught myself.
Just. Not only. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, right? Let me reframe that. Yeah, those people that aren't your people and being at peace with that. Bless and release. You're not my people. But I think about how many times I would spend my energy there. I need everyone to like me. And when you release that.
And you also give people the opportunity when you give people the opportunity to self-select out, you also create space for people to self-select.
Yeah.
Your time is VIP as fuck, so I don't like it.
Yeah. You heard it here. Wow. So many nuggets from this.
All the bits. I love my bits. People think they're a lot more unique and interesting than they are. And by people, I mean me included. Every personality test will dial you in.
Yeah.
Right? Humans we're a lot more similar than we think we are in the way that we identify within the world, right? Yeah. Now our DNA code is billions of things, right? At the end of the day, you can decode anybody and everybody. And so that's why my practices are very simple. I joke and I'm being serious at the same time about neurolinguistics programming at a 5th grade reading level. My book and my life are that simple. Start the sentence with I instead of you. Mm-hmm. Get rid of the can't, won't, don't. Yeah. Stop talking about thinking, talking, trying. Eliminate easy and hard. I haven't asked you to do a single thing other than eliminating certain words or changing language. It takes zero effort, and yet it can transform your life when you commit to it. Because at the end of the day, we as humans are very, very similar, regardless of our past, regardless of our personality types, and we have the same operating system, right? So we can override that operating system through the use of language.
This has just been fascinating because, again, I can come in here and think like, yeah, I'm a pretty positive person, and I say these things, and then all of a sudden, like just the little subtleties, like, whoa, man, I am. I
made an off comment a month ago on my podcast, and I said specifics are different than details, and I went on. It was like and one of my listeners reached out and they go, okay, what's the difference between specifics and details? Yeah. And I'm like, okay, what's an analogy I can use that understands? Okay. I said, details are the 100 things it takes for a car to go. Specifics are the 2 or 3 things that make it stop. So now once we start talking about details versus specifics, you really can dial in, whether it's business or personal. Yeah. Right. What's the problem? It's how we can identify root cause, how we can identify the problem instead of the symptom. Yeah. And once we start doing that, now we can talk about one thing that has the greatest impact on the whole thing. Right. And so that's what it comes down to. Is you said that, with the specifics. An analogy I like to use is, remember algebra. Everyone did algebra at some point, remember? Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's remember algebra, right? We have this inverted triangle thing, right? So we start with numbers and symbols, for the lack of a better term. Essentially, you have your arithmetic, right? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Then you have some exponents and square roots and all that fun stuff, right? And then we have an equal sign. And then we have some more shit over here. Okay. And what do? We do the first line where we get rid of the exponents. Okay, now we got this other thing. Okay, now we do division and multiplication. Okay, then we get to the last line and you do addition and subtraction. Okay, and then it shits out an answer. And we show our work. Often, when we get the wrong result, what happened is we made one error along the way. Yeah. We did a multiplication after addition. We didn't see the parentheses. We did the exponent. We applied to one side and not the other, right? And so when you show your work, you can dial it down and say, okay, I got the wrong answer. It's not all wrong. This one thing I did was wrong. When I make the adjustment, I got the right answer. It's no different than the narratives we tell ourselves. Mm-hmm. My goal wasn't like, let me hear your life stories and figure out what's wrong with you, right? There's something wrong with everybody. Yep. Instead, let me listen to the language you tell yourself today.
Yeah.
Let me change one word. Because when you change that one word, it's no different than changing that one number. You start to get the result you're looking for. Stephen Covey in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People talks about this. He says, a thought reaps an action. Action reaps a habit. Habit reaps your destiny. Thoughts are governed in words.
Yeah.
So before you have a thought, you have a word. That is what's controllable within that whole thing. So when I get on stage, I tell people, we'll change one word to change your world.
Ooh.
One word. That's my only ask.
Yeah.
What ends up happening with people is they start changing one word. And then you realize, wow, the rest of the sentence is changing. And when the sentence changes, so does the paragraph. And now it's the narrative. And now it's my reality. And then mastery comes when you start hearing it others.
Oh, yeah.
And
You're
then-
just so quickly calling out. I mean, I didn't even hear myself. Like,
I don't. You said I don't,
yeah.
right? I choose. I choose not to pay attention. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And I am like the preacher that stands at the pulpit every Sunday morning full of sin. I do the same shit.
Oh my gosh, that's 100%. I mean, like, talk about inner child work and all these things, but here I went right back into people pleasing and abandoned myself.
There you go. Last night, my fiance said she was going to be at my house at one time. She texted me after that time to tell me, I think we're trying to leave. And I just smiley face, right? Or no, laughy emotion, right?
Called that one.
We're both people that being on time is not a priority. So again, grace goes both ways.
Yeah.
So she shows up and then we're on the porch and then it was late and then the kids were playing the tetherball and then right. And then we get home and it's again 9:42 when the kids wanted to watch a movie last night. Yeah. And she goes, I'm exhausted. I go, and I haven't eaten dinner. And so we talk about HALT all the time. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
Yeah.
When you're one of those 4 things, you're more likely to commit suicide. I get that serious, right? Because I begin with death as the end state in mind that may happen to us in any situation. Again, military background. Yeah. But Did You Die is one of the chapters in my book. Okay. So hungry, angry, lonely, tired. We talk about that. She goes, thankfully, only one of us, or we're both one of the two. She goes, we're sitting there at the kitchen. I'm pulling stuff off. I'm feeding the dogs. The TV doesn't work. All the things because life and chaos. And she goes, HALT. She goes, I'm tired. You're hungry. She goes, we're 3 out of 4 right now. So we're actually doing pretty good as a couple because I wasn't tired. So I had bandwidth to tend to the kids. Right. And she wasn't hungry because she had 8.
Wow.
So she goes, okay, I'm going to go upstairs and go to bed because I'm tired. I go, and I'm going to eat because I'm hungry. And we high-fived each other, gave each other a kiss, and she went upstairs.
That is
simple. And then exactly. And then we got the TV set up for the kids. They snuggled. They watched the new Twister movie. I took my sweet ass time eating my snacky snacks, right? She wasn't there, so I ate my cheese because if she's there, or not if, when she's there, I have to hide the cheese. I get to hide the cheese. And then I take my sweet ass time taking a shower. I'd crawl in the bed. Everything was great because we had a truthful adjustment. She was tired. I was hungry. Good. Instead of being like,
get that tattooed. Truthful adjustment.
Truthful adjustment. I have have faith in your fate. My mom has a tattooed right here.
Oh.
Have faith in your fate, right? Again, a simple acknowledgement.
HALT.
HALT. That's it. HALT.
Able to acknowledge both of your needs
Yeah,
and honor both of your needs, and that I don't have to do what you need to do because you're this way and I'm that way. And no, like,
yep. Let's say angry. Hey, I'm angry because this thing happened. Great. Now is not a great time for us to, right now is a great time for us to exist near each other and not have further provocation.
Right.
Okay. Lonely. I hear this often, right? You're running late from work or whatever, running late, or we haven't spent time together. And then when we do spend time together, we talk about all the time we didn't spend together.
Right.
So now we went from being alone and lonely to not alone and still lonely because we're talking about how lonely we were when we were alone.
Right.
Instead of being like,
really intentional about our time.
Look how great we are. Oh my God, we have quality time. Let's make quality time, not quantity time. So like Wednesday night is our date night. And we were talking and she's like, what does a date night look to you? Right? Tonight. She goes, this is what I want to do. I go, okay, let's just do all the things. I'll make you dinner. We'll go for a hike. I said, the rule we have is no phones, no laptops. Right. And she goes, I want to work until 6. I said, okay. And I was getting home at 6 and I get home and it's 6 o'clock. And I was like, what are you doing? She's like, I needed this. I go, hold on. How much time do you need? She goes, 10 minutes. I go, fine. I go sit on the back porch. I start reading my book. She comes out. She goes, okay, are you ready? I go, 15 minutes, I'll be done with this chapter. She goes, okay. So she goes out and does her thing. Now it's 6:25, 6:30. And we're like, okay, now let's go have date night. Shit, we said 6. And she had a thing and I had a thing and I finished my chapter and she finished. And then later she goes, oh, I'm so glad you gave me that time because I sent those last 2 or 3 emails and now we're going to DC with the kids later. I sent the emails so now there's a dog sitter going to come. It's like, what would have happened if it had been like, oh my, we said 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right? Now we're alone and also we feel lonely because we don't feel seen. We don't feel heard.
Ooh.
And again, it's boundary,
Yeah.
adjust. Boundary, adjust. The problem people have is they either have expectations, communicated or not communication,
Oftentimes not.
or not, oftentimes implied, right? Or they have no expectations at all, and then it's just all mushy and fun. And then it's like, well, what are we even doing here? And then it's boring and lethargic and and then employees, right? And that's why you have the great resignation and you have employees that are disengaged. Yeah. You have significant others that are disengaged. You have kids that no longer please you because you never explained them what they're doing right. Right. Catch your kids doing the right thing every now and then. That sounds like a great fucking idea.
Yeah.
Catch your spouse. Jordan Peterson talks about this when you're first dating your spouse. Every time they do something you like, celebrate it.
Notice it.
Notice it. Hey, that thing you did, I liked it. And he says it'll take 100 times before they do it the way you want them to. And every time they'll get a little bit closer. Yeah. And tell them, hey, when I come home, so my girlfriend and I, we practice the 5-5-5 principle. 15 minutes a day is what keeps our relationship healthy and happy. First 5 minutes a day we spend together. First 5 minutes. No kids, no dogs, no cell phones, no nothing. First 5 minutes. 5 minutes that we come home, 5 minutes when we go to bed. So even to that point, she'll say, okay, tomorrow morning I got to get up at, this was 2 days ago. She goes, I'm going to get up at 6:22. And I go, okay. So she's like, I'm going to set my alarm for 6:12 so you can get your cuddles in the morning.
Wow.
Right? When we come home, walk in, right? There's dogs, there's groceries, there's kids. Don't. We will stand and we will embrace and we'll spend 5 minutes talking to each other. There's nothing anybody can do a damn thing about it, right? Yeah. So last night, when she got to my house, we sat on the back porch for 5 minutes, turned into an hour and a half. Right. Because we took the 5 minutes to invest. Yeah. No cell phones, right? No distractions. And then 5 minutes the other night. So even though last night she was tired and I was hungry and kids, dogs, distractions, I own a business, she owns a business, she has a job, all the same shit everybody has. We put 15 minutes into our relationship yesterday and what a beautiful day we had.
Oh, so simple.
And I could have pissed away 15 minutes watching YouTube videos, scrolling.
Yep. A little bit of intentionality goes so far. And that is so simple. When you say it like that, it really is so simple. And you think about, it feels complicated when you're not.
You can feel
those steps. Yeah.
So the sixth, we'll start to wrap things up. The sixth most powerful sentence. You keep saying it, which I love. There's 6 most powerful ways to start your sentence. I came up with this about 6 months ago, and it holds to be true. And I put them in alphabetical order, which happen to also be the way that life lives linearly. Okay. I am. I can. I feel. I know. I want. I will. When you start the narrative with those 6 sentences in that order, you are unstoppable. I am. Declare who the fuck you are. Yeah. What do you stand by? Right? Mark Twain says it best, right? The 2 most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you figure out why. And your why will change.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Kids change it. Marriage change it. Small business ownership changes it, right? I can. Remind yourself what you're capable of. Because often, like you said earlier, I can't, whatever. That is poison you are drinking.
Yeah.
Versus I can is empower. It's serum that fuels this insanity that you have to think that you actually can. Let's go.
Right.
Right? I feel. It's an acknowledgement about how you feel. Hey, I feel scared. I feel intimidated. I feel overwhelmed. Okay, good. Good.
Yeah. And I have found a lot of people trying to figure that out to understand how they actually feel because you've numbed it, suppressed it, and we don't even know. I don't know what this emotion is. I don't even know how to name it.
Chris Voss talks about this in hostage negotiation, also sales negotiation. The best thing you can do as a coach, and I talked about this yesterday with somebody, best thing to do is mislabel the feeling. Right? Yeah. So right now I could walk in this, right? And I can say, wow, feels like you're inexperienced in doing this. Right?
Winging it.
Right? And that might be the truth. Or, right? Or I could say, hey, feels like you don't know what you're doing. Right? And then you would say, what would your response to be? If I said, feels like you don't know what you're doing. or looks like or sounds like?
I prefer to do this unscripted.
Okay. So you feel what?
I feel empowered doing it this way.
There you go. Same stimulus, right? I can say it feels like you're not prepared. You can say, no, I'm empowered by going off the cuff.
Yeah, truly.
When you ask someone, right, when they're visibly something, they're triggered, something's going on.
Like I was earlier. Yeah.
Right? They're feeling some sort of way. That's what the kids say. Mislabel it.
Yeah.
Looks like you're angry. I'm not angry. I'm this. Oh, okay. Versus, how are you feeling? What's the answer when someone says, how are you feeling?
Oh.
Fine. Why are you asking?
We all know what fine means.
Right?
Yeah, that's good.
Getting someone defensive like that gets them closer to truth. Because what you're doing is now you're opening up a place in their brain where they're like, well, I don't feel that way. I feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
Versus how do you feel is like, it's also one of the questions I ask when I go to networking events. Often people will say, what is it you do? Right? That's the standard answer. Well, you do.
Yeah.
I change one word. Why is it you do what you do?
Ooh.
I change the start. And now people,
That's so much easier to say.
Also, how was your day? Bullshit. What was the best part of your day?
Mm-hmm.
It triggers that singular response.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the statements.
Yep.
I am, I can, I feel, I know. Now we can root things in truth, the truth, in facts, in reality, or even your perception at that point. This is what I know to be true about myself. Based on that, this is what I want. Because up until this point, we're talking about where we are. I want to now talk about where we're going to go. And finally, I will, how we're going to get there.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like you just wrote the manuscript for people pleasers. Here's how. Seriously.
And he's okay. I could go through the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's look at me, right? Limiting self-belief, which is I'm not good enough. That's my limiting self-belief. Okay. So my coping mechanism is to have a savior complex. Okay. Right. Let's start. I'll run the exercise. I am good enough. Let's acknowledge, right? I can do anything I put my mind to. I feel empowered when I remind myself who the fuck I am. I know that I've been successful doing a podcast before. I want to do more podcasts. I want to get on more stages. I want to empower more people one word at a time. So I will ask the audience to share, like, comment, give us feedback so that I can achieve my dreams. I can empower others. I can help you slay the dragon that is your own limiting self-beliefs. I've never done that before. And here we fucking are because I practice what I preach because it works.
Yeah. Wow. On that note, holy shit. What he said.
Where's that mic I'm supposed to drop? You know, I'm out of coffee.
You can have this one. Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm going to watch this over and over again. And I feel like I have so many notes that I want to take and share this. I mean, obviously, I hope people share this, but there's so many takeaways from this.
Hope is not a plan.
No, you're right. I will.
I plan. I will.
Yes.
I will promote this.
I will promote the shit out of this.
Right? I hope versus I will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brad Hurd, a good coach, focal point coaching out in Milwaukee. Whenever we used to be during the COVID days when we were all on Zoom calls, someone would be like, well, I hope that, and you could hear them in the back, hope is not a plan. Like everyone would just laugh. And again, whatever bullshit that person was spinning to themselves and others, he's also the one that says if. He'd be like, if? How about when? And so I got to give Brad credit for both those.
Wow. I feel like I need, people say, like, can I just have you on my shoulder and in my ear and catching that and just, that awareness. I'm aware now. Thank you.
Yep. It's again, reflect, realize, regulate.
Yeah.
And the things that you do, your actual actions are merely a product of your thoughts, and your thoughts are governed by your words. Change your words, change your world. Done.
Wow. To wrap this up, if there's one word you can get rid of.
This is interesting. This is how good of a podcast it's been. The ultimate shit word, the one that I cover in every single time I do a workshop or keynote, we never used once. Should.
Oh.
Never should on yourself. Don't should near others, and never shouldn't all over the place. So we play a game called Should, Could, Can, Will. Again, getting back to will, where
Yeah.
we go from an obligation to an opportunity to a possibility to finally a commitment. So should is the ultimate shit word.
Yeah.
Because should covers up all your inadequacies.
Yeah.
It's not a commitment.
Yeah.
I should go to the gym. I should start my podcast. I should be nicer to my spouse. I should. All you're doing is shitting on yourself and others.
Yeah.
And it's that comfort you're living in.
Yep.
Once you transition the word should to will, right?
Oof.
Here we go. I should get along with my sister, right? Because that's what the Bible told me. Now let's make a truthful adjustment. I will get along with my sister. Oh, I won't. Right? Or under these circumstances.
I was just going to say.
Or when this, okay, fine.
With these boundaries in place.
Right. When there's a political argument at a family party, you know what I will do? I will not get along with my sister. So I will walk away and keep my integrity. And I was talking to my girlfriend about this the other day, and we were talking about fighting because she's a nurse and very anti-fighting. And I like a good dust up every now and then. Not fighting. I love conflict. Yeah. And I was a bartender for years, so I never really had to start a fight. I broke up a lot of fights as a bartender. And even like when I go to concerts and shows and I'm in the mosh pit often, right? There's conflict, right? And so I like that, the aggression. And I've also broken up fights that were going to be a real fight because I don't want to, I want aggression to the line and not to the point of violence, right? Yeah. So we were talking about fighting the other day. And she was talking about her kids and my kid. And she said, well, what are you going to advise our kids? I said, okay, this is what you do. This is the perfect thing to do. If someone wants to physically have an altercation with you in public, this is what you do. Walk the fuck away. Because you have more to lose than that person, I guarantee. Oh, yeah. It's no different than your words. It's no different than unhealthy conversations people are having. When I hear people yapping and gossiping about others, I disengage. Yeah. When I hear people talking about politics where I know I'm going to get triggered, I disengage. Yeah. When people are talking about religion, right, and they're preaching versus inviting, I disengage, right? Yeah. You have a choice. What's that? You have a choice. It's all about choices. Dr. Bill Crawford, we'll leave it at this. Dr. Bill Crawford is the first person I interviewed for my book. Dr. Bill Crawford talks about your big brain, your little brain, and life is all about choices. And this is what he says, and this is one of the opening lines of my book. There's only 3 things in this world we have to do. We have to be born. We have to die. And in between, we have to live. Everything is a choice. Ooh. Everything is a choice. And if you've got nothing else out of this episode, your words fucking matter. And everything's a choice. And everything is a choice. Wow. Thank you so much. I love that I had no idea what this episode was going to be like or about. And this may be one of my favorites. And I learned so much. I am taking away so much, and I feel so much more aware, or I will be more aware. You are. I am. You're already. Yes. Again, focus on the now, the present. Yeah. Past, present, future, live in the present. I am more aware. I am more aware. Let's fucking go. Let's go. Let's fucking go. Awesome. Thank you. Truly, this was a gift, and I hope, no, I don't hope, I know everyone that is listening is going to take away so many helpful nuggets to change their life, change their words, change your life. Absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you again. Thank you. All right. Until next week, everyone. How can they follow you, find you, all of those things? LinkedIn, Facebook, AndyWeins.com, all the places. Awesome. I will link all of that in the show notes. Find this guy, get his book. Look at me doing the hand. Awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. Oh my gosh. Knife hand. We got a knife hand out of it. I love that.